We're at Newton Agricultural College in Cumbria. My name's Amanda Carson. I'm a veterinary surgeon and also secretary of the FECRT Sheep Breeders Association. We're here today to run a demonstration of how to carry out a fecal egg count reduction test for the purpose of monitoring the effectiveness of your fluke treatments for sheep. This video has been produced by Newton Agricultural College in combination with the Cumbria Farmer Network. And John has gathered up a flock of sheep. They're sheep that he wants to test for the efficacy of his flukicide treatment on his livestock. He's gathered the sheep up and collected them into the sheep pens. The purpose of this study is to collect fecal samples from a group of sheep, to then treat them with a flukicide agent, and then 21 days later to recollect fecal samples from the same sheep that we've collected from today and submit all the feces samples for testing. Okay, John's selected his sheep that he wants to take part in this study. He's collected the group of sheep and he's selected 24 sheep that are going to take part in this trial. Sheep have been gathered here, and what we're going to do now is weigh all the sheep, because in order to treat them for parasites we need to select the dose that for the heaviest sheep in the group. Okay, we've now got 12 sheep from the group sorted out into one pen. They've all been given a red pop on the back, and the weight ranged from 78 kilos to 96 kilos. So there's a wide variation in the weights there, and this group will be dosed to 96 kilos. We're now going to do the second group of sheep, weigh those and record their weights. Okay, so we've weighed our second group of 12 yows. They've all been marked with a blue pop, and the weight range in this group is 76 to 100 kilos. So this group will be dosing to 100 kilos. For the sake of ease, we're going to set the gun at 100 kilos. They're clean pens, the floor's been swept out, and we're going to leave them alone now for 20 minutes, half an hour, until they pass feces. The reason putting 12 sheep into each group is that it'll increase our chance of getting 10 muck samples from each of the groups. Okay, so our sheep in group 1 with the red pop on the back have been standing for about 20 minutes or so, and there's some muck samples on the floor, so we're going to go in now and collect our 10 individual samples off the floor of this pen. Okay, well, we're collecting our muck samples now, and we need 10 samples from each pen, and we need a good size sample to go into each bag, roughly about 40 grams, which is a good handful. So that's probably about as much as we need, and we're going to stick it in our little sample bag. Before we send these off for posting, we're going to have to give the outside of the bag a bit of a wipe. That's one sample. An alternative way of collecting it would be to go down and pick it up in your glove and then put it into the glove and tie the end up. Of course, this isn't as easy for the laboratory to deal with, so using the plastic chippet bags that we're providing you with is a better option. Okay, we've got our 10 samples collected up in individual bags, and we're going to put them inside a larger bag. The larger bag's been labelled up. We've got the holding number, the farmer's name, or the name of the farm, the date, FECRT, which stands for Fecal Egg Count Reduction Trial. We've labelled it with Group 1, which were our red sheep, and pre-treatment. So we know then that these are the samples that were taken from the sheep before we dosed them. So John, if you take that. Okay, so this is our first collection of faeces from group 1. We want this bag to be clean. Royal Mail don't want to handle leaking samples when it's received at the laboratory for testing. They don't want to take it out and get covered in sheep muck. So we want to make sure that this bag's nice and clean. We'll put this to one side and we're going to go and collect the samples from our pen of sheep that are group 2. This is our second group of sheep. This is group 2. They've got the blue pop on the back and they've been standing here for about 20 minutes or so. We can see some muck samples on the floor. So we're going to go in now and collect 10 individual muck samples from this group of sheep. We're going to weigh all the sheep and then dose them according to the heaviest weight of the group. We're colour marking the sheep so that 12 sheep will receive a red dot in the middle of the back and the other 12 will receive a blue dot in the middle of the back. And that's so we can identify the two groups when we gather them up in 21 days. If you don't want to use a spray marker, then you can record the ear tag number of the sheep. We've now got our dosing equipment ready and we're just going to calibrate it. The dose we're requiring is 20 mils per sheep. And this gun is set for 10 mils, so each sheep will require 2 doses. What we're going to do is we're taking a 20 mil syringe and we're going to pretend we're dosing the syringe to measure how much is actually in the gun. Okay, so this has calibrated and it's coming out at 19 mils, so we need to set the trigger just a trifle higher so that we actually get 20 mils when we're dosing each sheep. Okay, so we've emptied our syringe and we're going to do a second measurement. First lot of 10, second lot of 10, and this time we're going to be sure that we're going to deliver the correct dose rate to the sheep. We've got 20 mils measured out in our syringe. Also going to record the drug that we're using, the expiry date. We've got the batch number, and we've got the expiry date. Of course, we're going to enter this into our medicine records when we get home. Okay, John's now set up to dose these sheep. We've calibrated the gun, we've calculated the dose, we've made sure we made a record of the batch number and the expiry date. He's putting the correct dose into the sheep. He's making sure the gun goes over the top of the tongue to deliver the dose correctly. Making sure that each sheep gets a dose of the medication. Okay, we come back to Newton Rig Farm 21 days after we collected our first muck samples and treated the sheep with triclobendazole in this occasion. We've sorted the sheep out. We've got our 24 original sheep, still with the colour marks on their back, and we've divided them into the 2 groups. So we've got 12 sheep with the red pop on their backs in one pen, and 12 sheep with blue pops for group 2 in the second pen. Now we've gathered them up and sorted them, we're going to leave them to stand for about 20 minutes. When they've stood, we're going to come back and collect 10 individual samples of muck from each of the 2 pens of sheep.
So when you've got your samples for each group of sheep into a separate bag, which is properly labelled Group 1 and Group 2, gently squeeze out any spare air and then fold them over and gently place them in the jiffy bag, which has got the address for Liverpool University on it, and seal the bag carefully, and then put into the post.